Bonjour, Kinamagi in Ireland and Dijnikas, coming live with today's Math Tier 2 intervention. Today's episode from Math Tier 2 Interventions, Reteach 6.5. For this lesson, you will need your Reteach 6.3 and the Reteach 6.5. If you need to pause the video to get these materials, which were in our delivery prior to winter break, please go ahead and do such by pausing the video and then starting it again. So let's look at our answers from our previous session. And you are expected to do problems numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6. And again, because we are multiplying by decimals here, like on, oops, let me get the eraser on that one. Such a lovely 5 as well. So 2.6 times 2. On these ones, again, you're not so much worried about lining up the decimals. I mean, it's never a bad thing, but not really such an issue. You're not going to bring it down like here, like you did in adding. Once you write the problem down, you're going to solve it initially like your standard multiplication problem. 6 times 2 is 12. I can't put a 12 there, so I put a 2. I regroup the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Your next step is to count how many decimals are after the decimal point. And in this case, there's 1 right here. There's nothing down there, so you just have to go 1. Your decimal point is out here, so you go back 1 spot, and you don't actually have to draw this line here. Just get to 5.2 if you need to at the beginning, and then you can always go back and erase it. So we got 5.2. Over here, let's do one more. Let's do 6.58 times 2. Start by writing it down. Times 2. Standard algorithm, 8 times 2 is 16. I can't put a 16 in that column, so I put a 6. I regroup a 10 up here. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Same thing applies. Put a 1, regroup the 1. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Now I count my decimal places. 1 and 2. There's none down here, so I go back in 2 spots, and I get 13.16. You are welcome to draw that again. You don't have to. You can see the other 2 answers were 6.32 and 69.3. If you're still having struggles with this, please reach out to me, and I'd be happy to meet with you independently. Let's go into today's step. We went from multiplying using estimation and rounding to multiplying by a 1-digit whole number. Well, today we're moving into 2-digit by 2-digit at the very least. And you can see that in some cases 3-digit by 2-digit. The initial steps are going to be the same. You're going to multiply 47 times 18. 47 times 8 is 376. You put your 0 here because this is a 10, not a 1. 47 times 1 is 47. There's the 0, 470. You added it up, you got 846. Now, you got to count your decimals. There's 1 here, and there's 1 there. So you have to go over 2 spots. So 1 and 2. Then you end up with 8.46. So a lot of the steps are the same from our previous session. It's just now you're going to have to use multi-digit multiplication, and you're going to have to count the decimals in both factors, and then you move it. The standard will be used to help determine if you can multiply 2 by 2 digits, and the multiplication by decimals. So there are two different things you will be assessed on as we get through this chapter. So let's do a few. We're going to do a couple together, and then you'll have a few to try on your own. We'll start with 4.3 times 1.6. I could go 1.6 on top. I always prefer if I have the one on the bottom, if I can, if they're the same number, because I know that it's an easy multiplication. So let's put 4.3. But you're like, but Mr. Ireland, the problem says it's 1.6. You're right. But remember, we have the commutative property. We can change the order without changing our product. So here's our initial problem. And I'm going to start out with 6 times 3, which you know is 18. We'll group the 1. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25. Spaced it out a little bit based on place value, as you can see there. Now, this 1, in this case, because we're still not worried about those decimal points at all, this 1 isn't a 1, it's a 10. So I'm going to put a 0 here. And now I'm going to go 43 times 1. I mean, yeah, I can go 1 times 3 and 1 times 4. But if you're looking at how to do it quickly, this is what we're going to do. It's identity property. Now, at this point, none of this matters. We're just doing 258 plus 430. 8, 8, and 6. Now I got to go count my decimal points. So let's get a blue for that one. Here's 1 here, and there's 1 there. So I'm going to go over 2 spots. And remember, your decimal point always starts over here. So 1 and 2. Your answer is 6.88 or 66 and 8800ths. Do one more together here. We have 0.5 and 0.7. I'll keep the order on this time because it really doesn't matter. Often I would probably have gone the other way. Okay, 7 times 5 is 35. I put a 5 and a 3. Now I'm going to put a 0. And 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. I add it together. And I get a 5 and a 3 and a 0. Now I count my decimal points, and let's do it with the red here. There's 1 and there's 2. So it goes over 1, it's over 2. My answer is 0.35. You may be saying, but Mr. Ireland, did I need to do all that? Maybe not. You could have gone 5 times 7 is 35 and then counted your decimals and just kind of got on this row 1 and 2 and had 0.35 if you would remember to put the 0 there just for place value at this time. I went with the longer route only because I knew that would make it a little bit easier down the road, just to visualize the steps. So that option was up to you. Okay. I'm going to ask you now to do numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6. I want you to write it out on this paper, and then you're going to put the answers within your Google Classroom on the attached Google form. We will review these in our next session. If you find yourself having a lot of issues, please email me at mireland@psychchipschool.net or take the opportunity to join us during office hours. As a constant reminder, the best way to get this content and to make meaning with your peers and with your teacher is by joining us during our live session each day. That'll give you the opportunity to ask questions as they come up and get an immediate response. Hope you all have a Minogijigad. Minwa Bamapi.